Boys and girls, we are finally finished with commas. Finally. You should be an expert on commas by now. We're moving along and we're only going to spend 1 week on semicolons. And you only have 3 rules to learn. So I suggest you learn them quickly because at the end of this week you will have a test. Semicolons. There are 3 rules for a semicolon. Rule number 1. Use semicolons to separate items in a series when commas are already used. Now listen, there are more than 7 rules for commas. There's a lot of rules. I don't even know how many. There's a million rules. Well, sometimes commas are used, all the time, commas are used to separate the name of a city and a state. So if you've got a list or a series of cities and states in a sentence, you don't want to use a comma to separate those things in the sentence, in those series. You want to use a semicolon to do that. For example, I'd like to visit St. Louis, Missouri, semicolon, San Francisco, California, semicolon, and Austin, Texas this summer. Okay? So if commas are already being used with the items in the series, use a semicolon to separate them instead. Rule number 2. The semicolon separates a sentence with 2 closely related meanings. Sometimes 2 sentences that are talking about the same thing are combined with a semicolon. Instead of combining the sentence with a comma and conjunction, sometimes people like to just combine them with a semicolon. For example, you tried your hardest, semicolon. Second place is a good finish. It's usually very easy to tell where the semicolon goes in these type of sentences. And then we have number 3. The semicolon is also used in lists, even though it is correct to use commas in lists. So, look at the example. I have been to Canada, semicolon, Japan, semicolon, Australia, semicolon, Africa, semicolon, at least there should be one there, and England. All right? So whenever a sentence gives you a list of things, you can use a semicolon to separate those items in the list, just like you would a comma. Sometimes people just decide to use semicolons instead. Now, a semicolon is just simply a comma with a period floating above it. That's what it looks like. You can see it in these examples and in the notes that I gave you to go along with this PowerPoint and this lesson. So here are the 3 rules for semicolons. Let's try it. I'm going to pause and give you an opportunity to say out loud where you think the semicolons go. Number 1, my favorite sport teams are from Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, and Cleveland, Ohio. Where do you think the semicolons go? Say it out loud. The semicolons go after Georgia and after California. When you have items in a list or a series and commas are already being used, instead of just using another comma, put a semicolon where you're supposed to separate the items in a series. The next one. I hate doing math homework. I love doing art homework. Where do you think the semicolon goes? Say it out loud. The semicolon will separate the two sentences. So you got to find where the other sentence begins. I hate doing math homework, semicolon. I love doing art homework. And the last one. I'll need to do the following today. Take out the trash, pay my hydro bill, water my plants, and shop for groceries. Where do you think the semicolons go? Say it out loud. I'll need to do the following today. Take out the trash, semicolon, pay my hydro bill, semicolon, water my plants, semicolon, and shop for groceries. So whenever you have items in a list, you separate those items with semicolons just like you would do with commas. There you have it, 5th grade. Semicolons. Make sure you study. Make sure you are prepared. Make sure you're doing your best. Last but not least, look at that penguin stealing that drink. Have a nice day. Continue to work hard. Continue to do your best. We'll be practicing all week. We'll be having grades all week. And of course, your test is for a grade. Have a nice day.